What's going on, y'all? It's your man, Mike Deloach. And today, one thing I'm going to talk about is respect. So, and the reason I say respect is because, I gain a different respect, from certain people when they start to see my work ethic, So, here I am, a brother man, out here in New Mexico. So it's mostly, predominantly, your Mexicans, your Spaniards, and your natives. Even though it's pretty much a melting pot, but like I said, you got all your different ethnicities, but that's more your dominant race, and those seem to be, seem to work around a lot of Mexicans, if you would. But now, I work in hospitality, and one thing about hospitality is, presentation. A lot of people, of course, they're renting out a room or whatever. So when you go into the room, got to make sure it's been clean and you got fresh towels and, all of that jazz, all the bells and whistles, So it's all about that presentation. Otherwise, they going to think somebody done stayed in that room or whatever, But anyway, me, again, it's presentation. So, I got my clothes dry clean, clean cut. Always got a watch, gold bracelet, So, got on some cologne, smelling good. So, I'm always looking my best, So, some may think at first glance, just a pretty boy, he don't like to get dirty, But one thing a lot of people fail to realize is that, I grew up in the country, But, anyway, inside of my hotel, we got a restaurant on site, and, one of the cooks, who just so happens to be a woman, I think she looked at me, as that pretty boy, like, he work in the front desk, and, he don't know what it's like to work in the kitchen and to be back here sweating, under these hot stoves and whatnot, and, in her mind, the kitchen is a different beast, excuse me. And I think, one thing she failed to realize is that, I understand that, and I worked in the kitchen before, but, she didn't know. So I'm gonna tell a story. So one night, the hotel was fairly slow, but the restaurant was fairly busy. Normally people like to go out and, eat at other places or whatnot, but this particular night, the next day we were expecting snow, so it's very cold. People on edge about the weather, so, they're not trying to go anywhere, and, they just want to sit down and eat at the restaurant that's there on site, So, here it is, right now, COVID is still going on, so it's basically down to the bare minimum as far as the workers that we have, So here it is. There's one server and one cook, So meanwhile, sometimes the server is not in the not on the floor, if you would, and people are coming down ready to get seated, and it's a few people already sitting in the restaurant. So I'm noticing, like, dang, it's kind of starting to pick up, and I took it upon myself to go see some of those people. Again, I've worked there in a restaurant before, so I understand, just seating people, giving them a menu, and give me a sec, I'll be right with you or whatever. Anyway, restaurant is getting busy, long story short. And so I'm starting to help, the server, clean up some of the tables, and, because again, it's COVID, so we don't have, as much available seating as we would normally have, So people are kind of, waiting to be seated because there's no free tables. So I'm kind of cleaning up the tables, so he can, basically sit somebody else. And again, mind you, we only have one cook. And so in my mind, I'm like, dang, if he this busy, I know she back there, getting her ass handed to her. You know what I mean? So, and, as I'm, putting the dishes back in the back of the kitchen, I see her kind of, again, sweating, kind of overwhelmed, you know what I mean? And, I took it upon myself just to wash a few dishes. And just because I'm seeing, them pile up, and I'm seeing how people coming in, because I see what she can't see. So I'm seeing how many people is in the restaurant, whereas she just knows the amount of orders that she has right now, and basically how they're starting to come back to her, and I'm knowing that there's gonna be more, so, but at the end of the night, you have to still wash these dishes once you get done slaving, cooking on these orders by yourself. So again, I've worked in the restaurant. I understand how it goes. And again, I took it upon myself to wash a few dishes, and I washed a few and just stopped. And she looked at me. It's like, I'm busy. And I was like, no, it's fine. Like, I got you. You know what I mean? But again, she still had this mindset, like, oh, basically, like I was trying to almost tell her like she's not doing her job. She need to keep up with her job. But as more dishes came back there, and I'm putting more back there. Here it is. I look up under the dish rack, grab trays, putting glasses, washing glasses, spraying off plates, and trays, and running them through the washer. And, she finally get to a point where, she kind of like, thank you. And, by the time she finally catch up on her orders and realized that, I hadn't knocked out a lot of the dishes for her, she looked at me and it's like, kind of just stopped and looked at me. It's like, I'm going to make you something. You know what I mean? Almost like, you didn't have to do that. You know what I mean? But, here it was before. She looked at me and it's like, oh, he just is pretty boy. But it wasn't until I got back there and got my hands dirty. And I'm still in my, my clothes is, working the front desk. Like I said, got the I'm creased down with my, my slacks and my shirt, and I still got on my watch and, my jewelry, but I'm still back here getting dirty with you, regardless of what I got on or regardless how I look. Like, I'm not afraid to get dirty, but moral of the story is, she gained a different level of respect for me, because she seen that, I was willing to get down and dirty. Granted, she don't know I got a background in the restaurant, that was my first passion, and so I understand the dynamics of the kitchen, so I love that type of atmosphere, to be honest with you. But again, she gained a different respect, and I also noticed that when I used to work at Walmart, so I'm working at Walmart, started off as a cashier, but I went into the electronics section. And, in my mind, at one point, one thing I always wanted to avoid was pulling stuff out of the truck or working the trucks, unloading trucks, because that's really that physical work, you know what I'm saying, that get, start to work on your back, you know what I mean. But here it seemed like, I guess there was no way of me getting around that. So with electronics, there's certain items that come in, and sometimes high price items, so you got to make sure you get those items and kind of check them off the list. But anyway, I end up still working the truck, but basically just kind of getting the electronic items, you know what I'm saying. And on top of that, there was what they call break packs, which is basically a box of just not always loose items, but sometimes just miscellaneous items, or it could be a box of one item that goes for a specific department, you know what I mean. And you kind of got to basically organize it yourself, if you will. But that was kind of part of the electronics. You basically had to get those brake packs and set them to the side for that person who's unloading it. So on top of getting your stuff for electronics, you're getting the brake packs and stuff too, And anybody that worked in that world know what I'm talking about, But so first starting off, got to get the hang of it. For one, I ain't did this type of job before, kind of pulling stuff off the line before. This is kind of my first time doing something like that, And so meanwhile, you got these cats that's, been back there, I don't want to say seasoned vets, but you had your seasoned workers back there, those guys that kind of knew the flow and, knew how to kind of keep things going, So, my first couple of weeks in, I'm kind of slow, picking out to, know what's mine, because electronics, you got electronics, And then within electronics, it's almost still intricate because you got like the photo, you got the gaming, you got the computer stuff, and so within and you got the wireless. So within that, each of those like categories had its own number for the department number within the electronics. So there's different numbers that I got to look out for. So it's taking me a while to kind of get used to that flow and to know which boxes I need to pull, which numbers I need to look for, just kind of knowing right off top what's going to be mine and what's not mine, because you would still have some items that may look like electronics, but it still went to another department like hardware or something like that. You know what I'm saying? So hardware had its own numbers, so you had to be able to distinguish between the numbers. But here it was, they looking at me like, oh, who's this guy? But when it came to the flow, I'm like a rookie, because like, he don't know what to grab, and so people grabbing the brake packs, looking at me like, you supposed to be getting this, I'm doing your job or whatever, you know what I'm saying? And so you will have someone who would try to do that to you, those seasoned vets or whatever. And so I'm just like, okay, I see how it go, you know what I mean? And so meanwhile, now I'm starting to learn the system. I'm starting to learn the flow. I know what numbers to look for. I know what's, in my department versus what's in hardware or whatever. So now I'm learning and I'm grabbing my stuff like it's nothing. You know what I'm saying? And meanwhile, those same ones that used to flex on me like, oh, I'm picking up your stuff. Now, not only am I getting my stuff, I'm getting stuff from other departments that's, close to me, putting it on their rack like, you know what I mean? Like, you remember y'all used to do this to me? Now I'm giving you your stuff, kind of like, now catch up. You know what I'm saying? After I done learned it, and the same dynamic happened. You know what I'm saying? Because before, again, I was just, fronting the kind of went working back in the truck. So they kind of looked at me, as that rookie, as that pretty boy, like, he can't get with the program, or he can't hang. You know what I mean? But once I showed them boys my work ethic, showed them I can hang, and not only can I hang, I can get to the point where I'm looking at you like catch up. Hey, man, same thing. Those guys gave me a different respect, but, I say that because, again, here I was a brother, and so I wasn't, I guess with the in crowd or, with those locals or whatever. But, after they seen my work ethic, those guys, again, gave me mad respect. And after that, wanting to hang out with your boy. You know what I mean? And every time they see me now, it's nothing but love, But it took that for me to kind of get that respect, But I'm going to cut it off right there. That's all I got for right now. But, again, people respect you different when they see your work ethic. But this your man, Mike Deloach. Till next time, we'll holler back. That's in due time, but in the meantime, you gotta put in the work. You better get on your job. You better get on your job. I put in work. You better get on your job.